For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. Hey, I just got, the intro, we talk about having your barf bag, you're sitting that. We're going to talk about shoes on airplanes, right? That's always the big debate. When you take off your shoes on an airplane, is that gross? Is it cool? I've got an opinion as to why it might be okay. Stick around for that. And also to a forced apology. If you know that somebody has to apologize to you, does it still really feel like an apology when you know that they were basically made to apologize to you? And also, what are some weird things in the background of pictures that you've noticed that you just thought are hilarious that the person who's in the photo didn't realize when they were taking that selfie? We've got all this coming up right now on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secret to losing 3 to 5 pounds a week without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt RX. For the last 2 decades, we've helped countless people lose thousands of pounds. And now, it's your turn. Learn how to lose weight with one simple phone call and no prescription needed. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a risk-free money-back guarantee. So, if you're ready to start losing weight, call right now and get a free month supply with your first order of Body Sculpt RX. Call now. You have nothing to lose but the pounds. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. That's 800-459-6838.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. There's so much made about airplane travel. We all know how inconvenient it is to be, sandwiched or I guess sardined into the cabin of an airplane. And there's so many inconveniences just in the entire process, whether that's checking in, checking in late, baggage fees, and then afterwards the missing baggage, and you lost the bags that I had to pay for. Just the whole process is maddening. But the big debate that never seems to go away, because every other few weeks there's a new video surfacing online of somebody putting their feet up or having bare feet in the plane. The big, where I'm going with this. The big debate is taking your shoes off on an airplane, yes or no. But here's the deal. I'm gonna take this one step further. And people are either have one opinion or the other. You're either, yeah, it's great, or you're completely against it. I don't know that there's really there's no in between, I believe. Anyway, so here's my deal. People make the argument and say, well, do you take your shoes off at work? Do you take it off? Thinking about other public places. Do you go to Starbucks? Do you take your shoes off there? When you go to a concert, when you're going to the theater, are you taking your shoes off? When you're going to different things. I take off my shoes. Now, let me just say, I'm not taking off socks and having feet on the wall or on the seat in front of me. I'm not doing that. It's a sock, and I sit, with, I don't know. I'm not rubbing my feet on you. I'm wearing a black sock. If you happen to look down and notice it, then you look down and notice it. If not, you wouldn't even. So yes, I do take off my shoes in the plane. And where I'm going with this argument is there's the different public scenarios. Yes, I get that. In a restaurant, you take off your shoes. Well, I mean, here's why I can say it's fine to do it. Like I said, I'm not excusing the people who go and put their feet up on the walls and shit like that. That's gross. That is gross, I will admit. And when I do end up going, getting up and going to the bathroom or up to, go see somebody else, I put my shoes on. I don't have them off as I'm walking through the plane. Let me also just say that. Because if you've been in an airplane bathroom, think about how much piss that you've stepped in that bathroom. Why would you even want to be in your socks or bare feet and walking into that bathroom in the first place? First and foremost, that's just that, that's your own stupidity. That's your own stupidity. You're going to go, you wouldn't walk and piss in your socks in your house. That'd be like if you have a dog and going outside and you're going to walk in the dog piss-filled grass. You just wouldn't do that. So here's where I feel like it's not a good comparison to do other public environments. Because on an airplane, think about it this way. You're given a pillow and blanket. That's, to me, I think, where it's a different scenario altogether. You're implying, you're encouraging that sort of comfort in almost like a bedroom type setting. So when you go to the concert, the Starbucks, I'm putting my hands up and counting on my fingers. You can't see that. But, right, when you're thinking of all those other things, would you take your shoes off at a Starbucks, at a restaurant, at a concert, at an art gallery, at the theater, at whatever? No, but I'm not being given a blanket and a pillow for my comfort in those places. Aha. Now, maybe you see it differently when I put these other little tidbits out there for you. Do you see it differently now? Again, feet on the wall, fucking gross. You're a nasty person if you're doing that, okay? Because I wouldn't do that in any public. I don't care how comfortable I'm wanting to get. No. And I've been on a plane for 12, 13 hours flying to China back in the day, and it was the most cramped airplane ever. I didn't even do something like that. But, like I said, when you're giving me those comfort, when you're making me feel comfortable, I'm not going to have shoes on and wrap myself in a blanket and have my shoes, on the blanket or whatever. So that's where I go and say, all right, it's a different experience at this point. It's different now. You're wanting me to feel comfortable, and comfort to me is taking off my shoes for 4 hours if I'm just sitting there. Again, different if you're in an office in your workplace and you're up and you're moving and you're whatever, but if you're just sitting there, why do I want my feet in my crammed shoes for 4 hours or however long it's going to be, right? So tell me if this makes you see it a little bit differently now. Do you see a little bit okay, pillow, blanket, I get it. You're setting that tone of bedroom atmosphere, living room, comfortable atmosphere. Email is live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer. Save the money, save the hassles, and get the better blue pill. Dial 800-578-0179. That's 800-578-0179. 800-578-0179.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Do you remember when Corona started, there was that website? Was it a website or was it an app? Or, sorry, a social media account. Room Raider. It was commenting on people's room, like the backgrounds, right? Everybody all of a sudden had these full bookshelves like they were big readers. Room Raider. It was a social media account. Okay, thank you. And so that's where people really kind of took notice and criticized other people's environments, right? So when you're doing these national TV interviews and all of a sudden you have this crap on your bookshelf, and there were a whole bunch of screenshots that people would capture and it'd be like, oh, that's really embarrassing that you have that in your house. And then people became very mindful of what they were showing. And you had people that were showing off like pictures of their kids or even if, maybe they'd have a book that's facing forward. So in a roundabout way, you're advertising whatever book that is. And so I would do that if I didn't have any Zoom calls when I was, because we just hated that. So, but I would certainly have my products. I would do that. But anyway, so it really made people kind of take note of the surroundings of others when you're watching them. And so we are forever getting different pictures of people sent in funny jokes. And so, you'll have the person who's trying to do the sexy selfie in the bathroom. And I look at them and I go, that's kind of a cluttered bathroom. Or, you look what's on their counter, you look what's on, the shelf or in the cabinet, or, it's like, oh, they've got socks on the floor behind them. Well, that's a nice bathroom, right? Like we do that now. We judge them just because it's sort of, and again, you're putting it out there on the internet. So that's leaving people to have opinions and comments and whatever it is. And so we have a couple of our employees, or a couple of our staffers who aren't married, and they are on dating apps and things like that. And so over the past couple of weeks, they have been looking and sort of capturing, whether it's screenshots or whatever, of just kind of weird things that you kind of wonder, does the person know that that's in the background or have it in their shot? One thing that I've always, now I'm not much of a photographer, but I do know how to take pictures. I've always been mindful of of shadows. So when you have people doing beach pictures, I've always found it funny because you can see the person's shadow holding up the camera taking the picture on the sand, right? You see it on the ground. You see them, the person who's saying I've always laughed about that because I feel that it ruins the picture. Find the angle that's proper so you don't have the person's shadow, the cameraman's, photographer's shadow there. And so I've been seeing a bunch of these screenshots that our single folks have been showing. And again, you just kind of wonder, well, there was one that the person had, it wasn't mold. I don't even know what it was. It was just it was dirt or it was something in the corner of their bathroom. And you're kind of looking going, is that mold on the floor? Like, is that, you don't notice that? Because again, the person is focused on their body, right? They're focused on themselves in the photo. They're not looking at that thing in the background. And you've probably even done it too, where you've taken a picture and then you happen to just go and look and go, oh crap, that's in the background. Or, and crop that out. Or, oh, let me just do it again, because you notice it after. You don't notice it in the moment. And then there's also the people who will take pictures like in a public bathroom. So it'll look like you're, or it appears that you're in, let's say, you're in a Starbucks bathroom, or where it's the one person bath, right? Like there's not a bunch of stalls. It's the one, like you're going in and the toilet is there. And so you kind of look at that and go, are you in a restaurant? Where is this picture taken and why? So there's ones like that where you're just sort of like, wow, is that a Starbucks bathroom? Why is somebody getting naked in a Starbucks bathroom? Or why are somebody like taking off their shirt in a Starbucks bathroom? Like, why does that happen? And then there's a couple other ones where I'm just thinking, because they showed them to me before the show, there's somebody again who's in a public bathroom, and right on the wall beside them is one of those needle depositories, like when somebody, you look at those yellow boxes that have like the hazardous material logo and whatever on it. And again, like I'm just sitting there going, like, I appreciate that you're doing the half naked selfie, whether it's the gym or whatever it is, but it's like, you've got the biohazard needle depository right beside you. So it's things like that where you're sort of like, I get that the picture might be sexy, but you also have to kind of look at your surroundings and the ambiance and the overall picture. So, and there's a ton of people that post those on Twitter, right? Like they just, they'll circle the background, or they'll post it and then want to see if you can notice it, right? Like they'll post it, then you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of funny. You'll have the person who's standing there and somebody in the background. I saw that the other day where it was somebody's foot. Somebody was sitting on a ledge behind the person, and it looks like they've got a really, really long dong, because you see the foot in the background. It's a brown shoe, and you're like, oh wow, it looks like that guy's the guy who's standing there. It looks like he's got a really big one. In fact, it's the woman behind him whose foot is kind of shown in the background, right? And so there's things like that, which that's just coincidence. That's not anything, but I enjoy things like that now. So there are a couple of accounts on Twitter. I don't know the names of them right now, just offhand, but that always post those kinds of things. People do it on Instagram also as well. But tell me what's the funniest one you've seen, or if you've been on a dating app. Because we did that show a few months ago, maybe a year ago, where I'd never been on a dating app before because again I'm married. I'm not. That's not in my life right now. But I experienced it for the first time, and I do remember just kind of wondering why people picked the pictures that they did in some instances. And so tell me if you've had somebody send you a picture that they think is sexy, but then you're looking at, and I'm not talking about their facial expression or what they're wearing. I'm just saying like the coincidental stuff in the background where it's like, did you notice that such and such is going on back there, or did you notice that? Tell me if you had instances like that. The email address is live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Back on the Scribble right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt, your shoulder hurts, and your back. Oh my God, your back. They're constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore, am I right? Well, here is something you haven't tried. Pain Absolve. Pain Absolve is not available in any drugstore. The only way to get it is by calling today. We're so confident that it will work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase, no prescription needed, and best of all, each purchase comes with a money-back guarantee. Call now to find out how you can get Pain Absolve and get rid of your pain. Call 800-319-0582. That's 800-319-0582. 800-319-0582. Call today, 800-319-0582.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Apologies are an interesting thing. Do you remember back when you were a kid and you hurt somebody's feelings, or maybe you stole something from a kid at school and you got busted, right? And then the teacher says, "Go over there and apologize." Or even in maybe you were on the front street, the kids are playing and somebody got hurt, or you made fun of them, and all of a sudden the kid goes running and crying, and your mom grabs you by the wrist, right? Pulls you over, takes you to the neighbor's house and says, "Stephen, say you're sorry." And then, Stephen reluctantly, hums and haws and goes, doesn't make eye contact, right? Looks down or looks away. I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry. And then, that's it, right? And then walks away and then it's over. So I've always felt that those forced apologies really don't give two shit. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Because when you're forced to apologize, like, I know that you didn't want to do it, and I know that you don't mean it. So does it really make things better? Is that really right? And same thing in a workplace where, maybe you've made a joke and it hurt somebody's feelings, and then you're hauled into HR. That was always my problem when I worked in places, was that I would say something inappropriate. I'd get pulled over into the office and go, "You can't say that. We're gonna have to, give you that slap on the wrist. We're gonna have to write this up. We're gonna have to whatever." And I'd just be like, "Fuck off." You know what? And then I ultimately became my own boss, and now I call the shots in my company. But it always kind of felt sort of weird, because you have this awkwardness of you're being told that somebody's feelings are hurt and that was the wrong thing for you to say, and you're not apologizing right in the moment, right? Because it's had to go up the chain, it's had to go up the ladder, that person has had to go and complain, or say something to their manager's gone to HR, and then like 2 days later you're being called over and now you're going to apologize for something. You're kind of like, wow, we're still on this? Like, I didn't even realize. And so I'm not saying harassment is acceptable. I'm just saying, like, it's the forced apology where it's like, if I didn't mean it, but you've got to do it just for the sake of saving face and making it all better. And so we had a discussion here the other day where we've got a parent on staff, and she had done something that offended her son. And he was, I guess, expecting an apology, but the mom still feels that she didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to name the mom, but she knows who she is. She maintains that she's in the right, son is in the wrong. Bottom line is, now because I'm not a parent, this is where I always get ruled out, because I'm always told, you're not a parent, you wouldn't understand. Fuck that. You know what? I was a communications major in school. I've got the capacity and the ability to, see things from both sides and come up with my, form an opinion that way. So, the non-moms in the group all decided that, yes, this mom is wrong. And so she is butting heads with the son, and now the son has kind of called her out and was like, you apologized because that's what because you know that that's what was expected. You still don't believe that you're wrong, so you're apologizing just for the sake of making me feel better, but at the end of the day, you don't believe your apology because you're not sorry, because you still think that you're right. So it brings up this big question about apologies. Does it actually make it better, or does it make it worse? If you know that the person doesn't mean it or was forced into doing it, right? Same, like I said, you did something as a kid that, hurt another kid's feelings, and now you have to go and apologize, but you're just doing, like, right now you get to that certain age where you're kind of like, Mom, I don't know that you really meant that apology. So if it's not going to change anything about what happened or the way you're going to treat me going forward, then why did you apologize, right? You're apologizing right now in the moment to make it better, and let's get beyond that. Let's get past that. But if you still don't believe that you're wrong or that anything is the problem, then you're not even on the same page. Like, how do you bridge that gap? How do you then sort of come together and realize that mom did something wrong and the kid wants the apology, but the kid wants the apology not because he's got to tell you to apologize, right? That's the difference. When you're told you've got to apologize for something, And that would be like the same thing with me. If I know that somebody is like, oh, I'm gonna be waiting for my mom's apology because she knows that she has to. Well, no, I wouldn't feel that way because that's not even like I don't know, because she's not gonna mean it. So what does it matter then at that point? Right? So tell me your thoughts on apologies and give me an instance where you have had to apologize to somebody and you absolutely didn't mean it. Anytime. Like I said, I was fired from almost every job that I had in my teens and early 20s. And a lot of times it was because my mouth got me in trouble. And so there were instances where somebody's feelings were hurt and HR got involved and I had to, in a meeting or just on the side, casually say to the person, no, I'm sorry or whatever. And I mean, that's the thing, is that the person knows that I don't mean it. The person just like, and so, but you look at that and go, if that's really going to make them feel better, like, are they that stupid that they don't realize that I don't mean it? Like, because if this person knows me well enough. Yeah. But tell me your thoughts. live@jbonair.com is the email address. I've always hated having to apologize because, I mean, I say things, because I want to say them. Are they always well thought out? Not necessarily, but at the same time, I mean, people, it comes with the territory. When you're with an outspoken person, when you have me outside, you know that I shoot my mouth off. You know that does it make it right? Does it excuse it? No, I'm not saying it does. But at the same time, like, you also know that I'm going to be sarcastic and whatever. So forcing me to apologize, it's kind of like, yeah, we know that he's not even, like, it's actually probably going to be even more sarcastic. It's going to come across as sarcastic when he's apologizing just because we know how he is, right? That's what I'm getting at. So, again, the email address, live@jbonair.com. We have to go. I'm so sorry. Back on the Scribble right after this.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter @The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Let's completely shift gears here. There is not a segue to go from that last segment to this one. We're going to talk about nudity. I understand the appeal of it. I get that people, it's the whole freedom from clothing. We're born naked, blah, blah. I get it. I'm not a nudist, so I'll just put that, full disclaimer at the start of the segment here. I'm not a nudist. And so, again, I've talked about my fitness model, Brazilian husband who is, ripped, tan, tattooed, everything. And so people in the past have jokingly asked about, we just must be like running around the house naked all the time. Tim, one of my colleagues, he's just obsessed with how things work in my house. And truthfully, the answer is no, we're not running around naked. But at the same time, we also have... it all comes down to the living situation that you have, right? I mean, if you've got children, generally people aren't, adults aren't necessarily naked in their house when they've got kids. That's just something that most people, I'm sure there are nudist households where it's, the kids are naked as well and the parents are naked, and that's just normal for them and great. And then there's others that are just absolutely not. But if you're a single person, right, and you just have your own place, maybe you've got an apartment or you've got whatever, walking around naked is maybe just more comfortable. It's not necessarily the nudist lifestyle, right? Because it's just, whatever. If you sleep naked and then you wake up and you're naked in your house for 5 minutes, well, that's completely different than living a lifestyle, right? And making it sort of your whole, the focus of your day. And so in our household, it's not something that's done, but for one really, really furry reason, we've got 2 fairly big dogs. I should have said that a little bit slower, right? And made it more dramatic. We have 2 really big dogs in our house. And so they, their faces, their noses, their, whatever, are at the level of certain parts. And so for me, that's where I've always just kind of felt weird. Like, when I'm getting out of the shower, something like my dogs, if I'm having a bath or if I'm in the shower, they will be around me when I'm naked, but I'm certainly not, I'm not laying on the couch naked and having them, lay on top of me or whatever. Like, that's just, we're not like that. So when I'm getting out of the shower, then yes, I mean, the dogs will, technically they'll see me naked, but there's that barrier of the bathtub. So it's not like they're, you know what I'm saying. They're not like right there, but when I'm stepping out of the tub, absolutely I shoo them out and they have to stand in the doorway. They're not allowed in the bathroom just because, again, it's weird. Like, I don't want to be standing there and all of a sudden, my dog, smells something and takes a lick of one of my private part. Like, that's just weird. So that's where it's like, yeah, keep them separate. So that's why it's not a nudist, a swinging household, because we've got these dogs and it's just strange. And my husband he's, as I said, he's from Brazil, so he's generally very cold in the winter in our house, even though the heat is on. And he doesn't sleep naked just because of that reason. For most of the year, he's almost like fully clothed in bed because he's just very cold. And or he doesn't have a shirt on, but he's got almost like, I don't know what they're called. I would call them like workout tights. I don't know what you call them though. They're like, I don't know what the name is. Oh God, I'm going to be embarrassed now because I don't know the, like workout tight, like I don't know. They're athletic, like spandex pants, I guess that you'd call them. I don't know what they are. So he'll wear that. And I don't sleep naked anyway. I sleep in underwear. But point is that no, we're not naked around our dogs just because that's weird for us anyway. If you have those little rat yappy dogs, okay, fine. They're not quite at the level, so it's different. But yeah, we've got a big golden retriever and a husky, and so that's where it's just strange, right? You got to think about the proximity to certain appendages. But are you naked around the house? I mean, there's some people that do that because you'll have it like it'll be sexy Sunday at the house, so you and your partner will be naked because it's sexy. I understand that too, right? I mean, we could flip that and go and say, okay, so if you're traveling then and you're in a hotel or if you're wherever and you're not with the dogs, you're naked. Well, no, because I also don't necessarily trust hotel rooms and things like that to be, I'm still very hesitant about walking around naked in a hotel room just because, the little cameras everywhere and things like that. I don't know. So, but a nude beach or something? No, I've never. Oh, you know what? Yes, I did go to a nude beach. Oh God, probably. See, I don't remember day. I was living in my parents' house, so it was more than 15 years ago. So it was, I don't even know how old I was. I did go to a nude beach with somebody who was a friend of a friend. Why did we go there, though? I did not go naked. I know that for a fact. I didn't go naked. Why did I go to a nude beach? Because, okay, now I didn't. This totally just came to me. Normally, when I'm sharing stories and thoughts, these are already kind of pre-thought or pre-written out. Okay, so we went to a nude. Maybe we were just hanging out, and somehow we ended up going to a nude beach. Neither of us, we didn't stay there. It's not like we spent hours. So we got there. I didn't realize that we had a nude beach not that far from where I lived. So we drove out there. And this beach isn't like, it wasn't close to the road. You had to walk a fair distance to get to the actual nude part of the beach. And we got there. We met up with a couple people that we happened to know. And then we left. So I don't even know that we were there for even an hour. So yes, I've been to a nude beach. But I mean, I'm not freaked out by nudity. Like, it's just whatever. I mean, yeah, I didn't go naked on the nude beach. Neither did the guy. Neither did the friend. And then we ended up going back to my parents' house after. So yeah, maybe we were just hanging out for the afternoon. But yeah, I've gone to a nude beach, and it's just not my thing. There you go. Now again, different story, because when I went to Panama with my husband, we were there a few years ago. And it was a very, very private beach where we were out in a rainforest. There was nobody around. And so that was something we just kind of did for fun, because it was like, we're in nature. There's no civilization. There's no roads. There's no airplanes. There's no sirens. There's no people with phones. There's nothing. It's just the two of us. We were on a private island. And so the closest person was probably a mile away, because we had walked like quite a fair distance. There was nobody around, and it was just sort of something fun. We just kind of did it because it's like, whatever, let's just do it. But again, when you're in the hot sun, whatever, I don't want my peen getting sunburnt and things like that. So it's a little bit different, right? Because you're in Panama, right? You're not that far from you're a little bit far from the equator, but still, it gets different than if you're just in a shaded kind of area. We were in the blazing sun on the beach, so it was a little bit hot. But yes, we did sort of get naked on the beach, but it wasn't anything sexual. It was just because it just felt fun to do. It just seemed like a cool thing to do at the time. We're one with nature. Are we becoming nudists? No. And like I said, that was like 3 or 4 years ago, so it wasn't. You have to remember that when you're living with somebody who's from Brazil, which is a country where they wear very little and they're scantily clad at the best of times. It's not anything strange, right? Like the first time that I saw my husband, pictures of him in, his tight little swimsuits and things like that, I was like, whatever. It was funny because when he came to Canada for the first time, we gotta go. Shit. We went to a spa the first time that he came to visit me, and he did wear some of that, and I just remember not really feeling embarrassed because, again, this is a ripped guy who's here with me, and so people are going to be looking, and that's a great thing. But I just remember it was a cultural thing, and I just kind of said to him, like, bright pink or whatever isn't necessarily something people are going to wear here. And he's like, but that's what I wear in my country. And but you realize that we're not in your country. But I do remember trying to sort of change him. And then I embraced it. I was like, you know what? All these women are looking at my man as we're at the spa, and they're jealous, these bitches. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm just trash talking now. I'm joking. We got to take a break. Back in a moment, right after this. Oh, we don't have a break. All right, we're out of time. That's it. My name's Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye for now, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some